Hi everyone, welcome to my newest video where we will be doing an astrology chart reading or a birth chart reading, natal chart reading, whatever you want to call it, on the discovery of King Tut's tomb. I feel like there's something with King Tut's tomb that I want to look into, the astrology of it. We've had a lot of not weird, but I guess very prominent astrological events lately, and I'm kind of harkening back to certain things that happened in the past and looking at the astrology of those times, and seeing what was going on then. So let's look at the astrology of when King Tut's tomb was discovered back in 1922. All right. I believe his tomb was documented as officially being discovered, and we'll look at an article I have here from, I think it's National Geographic or something like that, where it's documented that his tomb was discovered, I think November 4th, 1922. So we'll use that date. We'll use the time. I'll set right smack dab in the middle of that day. We'll do a transit, but I also want to look at the whole month because his tomb was not excavated in just a day. It took a while for his tomb to be excavated, including that entire month of November of 1922. So let's go look at that together and see what we've got going on. If you're new to my channel, I'm Lamarr Townsend. I'm a psychic, an energy channeler, a tarot reader, and an astrologer. And I feel like I've got something stuck in my teeth from my green drink from this morning. So I'm hoping I don't have like a chia seed or something like that stuck in my teeth. But with that being said, if you would like your own personal reading, I am available on my website, lamarrtownsendtarot.com. That is where you can go to book a reading with me. This is my website. Let's take this picture down. This is my website, so once you've reached this page, you know you're on the right page. My website was designed and created by me. I did go to school for advertising and graphic design, so there's that. But also you can scroll down and read reviews from people who have purchased readings from me. You can also follow me down here on Instagram and Facebook if you would like a reading. And if you would like a reading, go right to the store section. That's where you would go to view all the rates, services, products, classes, and different types of things I do offer. I do offer birth chart readings. I also offer compatibility birth chart readings, individual birth chart readings if you want your chart read, your astrology chart read. I do also offer phone readings, mediumship readings, past life readings. I do also offer video recorded readings where you send your questions and I record myself doing your psychic tarot reading on my own time and then email you the video to download and keep within 1 to 4 days or less typically. I do also offer, like I said, phone readings, candles, different types of candles, custom candles, protection candles, money candles, love candles, different types of things like that. I do also offer astrology classes, tarot classes, spiritual self-development classes if you'd be interested in those things as well, and many more. So if you'd be interested in any of the things on my website, definitely check out my website, lamarrtownsendtarot.com, and I would be happy to do a reading with you. Alright, and we're black. Alright, so I want to go ahead and get right into the reading and see what the astrology was like the day that King Tut was discovered. Let's go ahead and look at an article together and see what we've got going on with said article from, I think once again, was it National Geographic or it might be the History, something. Oh, it was National Geographic. Okay. All right, so let's read it together. This is from National Geographic. The title of this article says November 4th, 1922 CE, excavation King Tutankhamen's tomb begins. It says here, on November 4th, 1922, the tomb of Tutankhamun in the Valley of the Kings, Egypt, is revealed. All right. So it says here on November 4th, 1922, which is the date we'll be using in the astrology chart reading, a team headed by British Egyptologist Howard Carter began excavating the tomb of Tutankhamun in the Valley of the Kings, Egypt. Tutankhamun, nicknamed King Tut, was an Egyptian pharaoh who ruled from 1333 BCE, when he was just 9 years old, until his death in 1323 BCE. After he died, Tutankhamun was mummified according to tradition and was buried in a tomb filled with artwork, jewelry, and treasures. Shifting desert sands quickly hid the tomb, and it lay mostly hidden for more than 3,000 years. However, on November 4th, 1922, Carter's team found the first steps of a staircase. The next day, on November 5th, his team exposed the whole staircase, and by the end of November of 1922, an antechamber, a treasury, and the door to the tomb itself were uncovered. After making a tiny breach in the door, Carter saw a room filled with gold treasures on November 26th. But it wasn't until much later that the sarcophagus containing Tutankhamun's mummy was revealed. So November 4th, 1922 was the start of it all. Alright? That was the start of when the tomb was found, and from then on, it just, kind of expanded more and more. Alright? More and more was revealed. So let's go ahead and look at what the astrology chart of that time reveals in terms of what was going on then, astrologically. Let's look into it. So here I have the astrology chart of the day that the tomb was, or the stairs of the tomb was discovered. Once again, this is the astrology chart of November 4th. You can see the date here at the bottom, November 4th, 1922. I have the time set for 12 p.m. I believe it was discovered in Luxor, Egypt, but unfortunately, Luxor, Egypt does not show on my astrology software. So just for, you know, the purposes of that, and because 1922, it's also important to note that Luxor, Egypt was once Thebes, Egypt, ancient Egypt, Thebes. So just for purposes of the software having its own kind of geography, and that it goes by, and ancient times kind of back then, even back in 1922 or 100 years ago, probably being a different, a little bit different too, maybe. I just decided to not use the location, just to make it easy. So we're going to focus on the month, the day, the year, and kind of do a transit of, I want to go into December and see what the astrology was looking like in December as well. But let's go ahead and get into it. The good thing about not using the location is we can still look at the planets, and the major planets, especially, like the sun, the Mercury, the Pluto, the Jupiter, and all those different types of things. So let's go ahead and look into it. All right, so this is once again the planets in the sky on November 4th, 1922, at 12 p.m. Just generally, it looks like the sun was in Scorpio at this time, so of course this was Scorpio season. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. Pluto does deal with depths. It does deal with evolution. It does deal with change. It does deal with transformation. So, obviously, with the discovery of this tomb, it was a very transformative thing. It was a big thing. It was one of the biggest discoveries at that time, and still remains to be a big discovery. And to be honest with you, it's one of the only glimpses that we have into a true pharaoh in ancient Egypt at that time. So not only was it a big discovery in terms of a major discovery in terms of ancient artifacts, but it brought a lot of information to us, overall in the world. And this is something that is also taught in public schools. This is something I learned in public school, was the discovery of Tutankhamun. And I remember doing a whole play when I was little about Tutankhamun or something like that. So Tutankhamun, this discovery of his tomb was really transformative, just in the culture, not in the culture, just in the culture of Egypt, but just generally in the culture of the world, and understanding the history of this rich earth we live on. So, I can understand why Scorpio would be here. It would be Sun in Scorpio, because Scorpio, like I said, does deal with transformation. It does deal with, it does deal with generational transformation as well. So this was generational on a scale, though, that, like, goes past like the baby boomers and things of that nature, because that's what Pluto rules. Pluto rules like generations in terms of like the millennials, the Gen X's, the baby boomers, and stuff like that. So I'd actually be interested to know what generation of those, like what generation was 1922. Let's see, let's look that up really quickly. Generation 1922. The greatest generation refers to those Americans born between 1900 and 1925, many of whom fought during World War II. So the greatest generation, I guess, was when the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb was found. Now I don't know. I'm not sure if I think these were British, people, but just the way that the America views the generations, it's like I don't know, it's a thing. I'm American, anyways. But going back to Sun and Scorpio, once again dealing with transformation, dealing with loss. Pluto and Scorpio also deal with evolution, change, growth in life, crisis. It deals with also detectiveness and things of that nature. It can also deal with obsession. All right, so this is something that people obsessed about for years. Hollywood made movies about King Tut in Egypt and things of that nature. We're still making movies about Egypt and King Tut. So it's interesting though because Sun in Scorpio here is conjunct Jupiter in Scorpio. Jupiter deals with expansion. Jupiter deals with good luck. So it just so happens that the stars were lucky, in that Howard Carter stumbled upon the stairs of what would soon be Tutankhamun's tomb. Now it's interesting, luck is a factor here with the discovery of the tomb, but it's interesting. Jupiter also deals with expansion, so Howard did not know what he would end up finding, at the bottom of those stairs or where those stairs would lead to, but it would lead to eventually a very expansive culture, a very expansive look at culture over 300 years ago, which is, interesting because a lot of that was intact, looking at, King Tut's mask, like the mask is like one of the best well-made jewelry pieces, artifact pieces that like stands the test of time today. So it's like not only did this discovery it expansive in terms of history, it was also expansive in terms of architect. It was also expansive in terms of technology. It was also expansive in terms of understanding architect and technology back then and how to apply it now, and fashion, and things of this nature, and like the details of it all. So that's that Jupiter aspect here in Scorpio. Jupiter, like I said, does deal with expansion. It deals with good luck, optimism. It deals with relocation and travel, which is interesting because there definitely was a travel factor here with these British architects, who are from Britain, traveling to Egypt to expand and dig and see what they can find, in the vast land of Egypt, filled with many different treasures that have yet to be discovered. Um, but it begs the question, why this time? Now, it's interesting, once again, this is a generational thing. This was, something that, it was like the perfect happenstance circumstance. It was one of those things where if you think of it in a way where we have Jupiter and Sun and Pluto. Pluto dealing with transformation, evolution, and change. The Sun in astrology is associated with your confidence, your ego, your self expression, your purpose in life. So there's definitely something about this where this was meant to be discovered, but only under the perfect circumstances, which is that combination of Sun and Scorpio with Jupiter. The Sun also does deal with childhood energy. We do know that, like the article said, King Tut was known as the childhood king. He passed away, I think, when he was 19. So he was still young. He was still a kid, so it's like, unlocking childhood memories, not just in terms of King Tut, but also just in terms of like ancient Egypt back then. It, gave us a look into what it was like being a child in ancient Egypt, and having the greatest of existence as a child, being, very highly popular, well known as a child, which is that Sun and Scorpio aspect. But anyways, Sun is also associated with one's connection to one's higher self. So it could be said maybe that was, I would be interested to know, is Howard Carter a Scorpio, because he could have been divinely guided to this specific tomb or the discovery of this tomb. Now, like I was saying earlier, it's important to keep in mind that I had something in my thought, but it went away. It'll come back to me, I think, or maybe like what was it? What was that I was gonna say? Hold on. Um. Oh, I was gonna say, think of it like every few years. Think of it like every few years or every few generations, the locks to a code changes, and if someone is able to unlock that code, the lock changing and the code changing would be literally the shape of the tomb itself, and the location of the tomb being affected by the sand and debris over time. But somehow, like, there comes that time where the code is a certain way, this generation, where it's the perfect timing for that code to be unlocked, or it's the perfect timing for, like an Indiana Jones kind of thing. And that's where Indiana Jones comes from too, is the discovery of King Tut's tomb, or at least is influenced by you get an Indiana Jones in there, Howard Carter maybe will say, and they are able to unlock the code. Like, this is an example of that. Makes sense as to why that, and it makes sense also too why the discovery of King Tut's tomb, like, it expanded into a movie, a whole franchise of Indiana Jones here in America, and I'm sure in other places. So very expansive, things for the generation, the culture. Jupiter deals with culture. Jupiter deals with religion. Jupiter deals with opinions, beliefs. Jupiter deals with open-mindedness. So once again, not just in terms of the culture of Egypt itself, because the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb was very important for Egypt, but for the world at large, a generational thing, a global thing. That's that Scorpio aspect, where it's like Jupiter takes it deep, but Scorpio takes it even deeper. Pluto takes it even deeper in the meaning of things. And that's important too, because Jupiter is very much about meanings, like things having meanings to them. Especially when you have that combination of that conjunction to the sun. Sun deals with purpose, being aligned with your purpose. So I definitely would say that Howard Carter and his team were divinely guided to that location for the purposes of discovering King Tut's tomb, for the purposes of shifting, like having a global shift in some way, shape, or form in the higher realm of things. All right. Now we have Mercury in Libra here, the day that it was discovered. Mercury deals with communication, the mind, local travel. Libra deals with one-on-one relationships. Libra also deals with balance. Libra deals with also, so there may have been an aspect here of like respect of Egypt, and the fact that there are foreigners here on Egyptian land, mining and excavating, and having to probably work with Egypt. We have Saturn here in Libra, so Saturn deals with one's career, professional destiny, status in society. We have Saturn conjunct Mercury. Saturn also does deal with father energy, karma. It does deal with also, like I said, the past. Here we have Libra energy. Libra deals with, once again, one-on-one relationships. Libra deals with balance, harmony, beauty, and things of this nature. That's where all this jewelry comes from and things of this nature too. On all the artifacts that were found in his tomb, and the fact that they were still found in pristine condition too. It's interesting also because Mercury does deal with one's young childhood to young adult years. So, mind you that these were things that King Tut was buried with when he was young, during his young childhood to young adult years. But these are also things that King Tut, everything in his tomb was likely, things that he touched or owned at some point and had some sort of one-on-one connection to. So when you disrupt that connection, I'll be interested to see where Neptune is here. Where's Neptune? We have North Node in Virgo. So Virgo deals with predictability. Virgo deals with, first of all, North Node deals with the purpose in life, why we come here to achieve certain things. The South Node would be in Pisces. Pisces deals with secrets. Pisces deals with the spiritual side of things. Pisces is also so it definitely was the perfect circumstances, because the South Node at this time was in Pisces. Pisces dealing with secrets. His tomb was secretly covered and hidden. But here we have Virgo, which deals with, once again, predictability. Virgo deals with a routine. Virgo deals with details. So it was the details of the steps that Howard Carter and his team found interesting, and they decided to dig further, and it ultimately led them to that Scorpio, Sun, Jupiter, combination energy of the expansive discovery of the tomb, right? Virgo is associated with, like I was saying, work, job, daily routine, details. It's associated with observation. Virgo is associated with health. It's also associated with daily life. So it's interesting, once again, the discovery of the tomb did give us insight into the health of Tutankhamun and maybe the health of the general population of Egypt, that ancient Egypt at that time. But it also gave us insight into daily life, specifically as a pharaoh, of ancient Egypt in that time, with the discovery of his tomb as well, and the kind of fascination that there was a lot, in common that we had then, that we have now, that we have then. If you look at some of the things found in his tomb, a lot of that stuff looks very modern, like stuff you would find like now, in homes, or in thrift stores and stuff like that. So it's very, very interesting. So it did give us insight into that, and maybe there was a reason for that. A reason for us to be able to connect the past with the present at that time in 1922. And what was to come, how far we've come 100 years later, which is very, very interesting. But it's the perfect circumstances of cracking the code. I'm sure hundreds, thousands of people had passed those steps before, but didn't even think of it leading to anything. But when you go to Egypt, maybe during this time frame, and you have the perfect alignment of the stars, and for something to be discovered in the stars, and then you go to the to you go to Egypt with the intention of discovering something, you already have the mindset and the energy of cracking the code. Do you get what I'm saying? That's that South Node in Pisces. Pisces deals with secrets. So you already know, one thing we've learned with Egyptians is that they were very secretive with the way they did things. We still have not uncovered or understood the pyramid or the true history of the pyramid. We are still looking for pharaohs like Cleopatra and where they were buried. So there's still secrets to be uncovered and discovered, but do we have to maybe wait for those right circumstances, for them to be for them to be discovered, kind of thing, right? Here we have it conjunct Vertex. Vertex does shift, quite often. So we have Neptune and Leo. Neptune deals with secrecy, life behind closed doors, one's need for privacy and solitude. Neptune, which King Tut was definitely up in solitude, for thousands of years. But when we have Neptune and Leo, Leo is very expressive. Did King Tut want to be found to a degree? Because keeping in mind, prior to the discovery of King Tut wasn't necessarily like a prominently seen pharaoh. You know, prior to the discovery of his tomb. But when his tomb was discovered, and we found that he had all those amazing artifacts in his tomb, it was like, whoa, who is this King Tut person? We need to learn more about him. Let's get all the Egyptologists from around the world, on this case, and figure out what exactly is all this that we're seeing, kind of thing, right? Before that, it may have been Akhenaten or something like that, that were more prominent and well known. But Leo does deal with childhood energy. Leo does deal with purpose in life. So I would say that there was purpose in King Tut being discovered, not only for the culture of the world, but for the culture of this young king to also be discovered and known. It's almost like King Tut coming through and saying, "Hey, like I matter too. My life matters." In 2022, it's this whole thing with all lives matter, Black lives matter, Green lives matter. King Tut's like, my life matters, honey. All right, that's King Tut's energy with this Neptune and Leo. I'd be interested to know what King Tut's zodiac sign is. Oh wow, I just had a client buy a lot of things at once. I didn't realize they bought all that stuff. Well, thank you to that client. What is King Tut's let's look up King Tut's zodiac sign. King Tut zodiac sign. I guess it would be hard to, I don't know. I don't see anything about his zodiac sign. But with King Tut, I don't know why I get like a Pisces energy with him. So he could have prominent Pisces in his chart, but with his Neptune in Leo, something tells me he most likely wanted to be discovered to a degree. Right? Leo deals with confidence, it deals with ego. Like I said, Neptune deals with spirituality. So there's something where King Tut's spirit may have been strongly wanting to come through, wanting to be discovered. You know, it's kind of like the movie. This may not be the best example. I don't mean any disrespect, King Tut, but it kind of reminds me of the movie It. You know how It, the clown will, kind of, stop a kid and be like, shh, shh, here, come here, come here. Like that was King Tut with Howard Carter being like, you see these steps? Come here, come here, come here. Go down there and see what's down there. Like that's like King Tut, in his energy. Now we have Pluto in Cancer. We have Pluto in Cancer generation, but Pluto is retrograde in Cancer at this time. Interesting. Cancer deals with family. Cancer deals with home. Cancer deals with mother energy. Cancer deals with what one needs in order to feel emotionally secure and safe. Cancer deals with nurturing energy. Cancer can deal with water, the seas, intuition. So once again, Howard Carter and his team were divinely guided to discover this. All right. Um, but with Pluto in Cancer retrograde, it's interesting because we have that Pluto influence once again, but Cancer can deal with a home and home matters. Pluto retrograde in Cancer. An interesting caveat is a lot of the people that discovered the tomb ended up passing away. Pluto is also the planet of death. Pluto retrograde in Cancer. It can be the energy of where it's like a give and take, right? It's like I'll let you be the one to discover my tomb, but you'll pay with your life, kind of thing. Particularly if anything was taken or stolen at that time. We have a lot of retrogrades at that time. We have Chiron retrograde in Aries. So there may have been a lot of war going on at this time too, in 1922 in particular. I don't know if there was particularly war with Egypt or British, or if that would have played an effect because um, these were British archaeologists. I feel like there's something where maybe this could deal with Britain in Egypt. Like this could deal with like these British Egyptologists and historians going there, but also taking something for themselves. Like it's almost like they have to get something out of it too. They have to get something out of it and bring it back home too. But when you have artifacts that were made in Egypt for Egypt and have been in Egypt for 3,000 years, and you take them out of its homeland and its home place where it's been for 3,000 years, once again you disrupt the energy. So I'd be interested to see how this energy shifts throughout the month of November. Lilith and Aries, so there was a lot of war going on. Like there could be physical war, there could be like war between once again Egypt versus these Egyptologists, these British Egyptologists, or Egypt versus Britain. We have Uranus retrograde in Pisces. So I feel like there's something where this discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb started some sort of like connection, like, or treaty or handshake between Britain and Egypt that maybe ended up not faring like well, or ended up not being maybe like the best opportunity for Egypt in some way. It's like we discovered the tomb, so now we want 30%, or we want 10%, or this is just theories I'm throwing out, or hypotheticals, or it's like we want, like they would. It's like Britain wants something too. The UK wants something too. We made this discovery. It's kind of like the TV shows where there's always that trope of like hidden money found, and then the person that found the money tells another person, and then they tell another person, and then they tell another person, and then everyone thinks they're owed the money because everyone knows about it, kind of thing. It's like that kind of thing. It's like, well, I found the tomb. This person helped. This person helped too. We're all from Britain. Britain deserves something too. Kind of thing. But we have energy here. We have like like powerful energy. This is King Tut. Like this isn't just like mining random gold, somewhere in the middle of the world. This is like King Tut. This has history behind it. This has power. This has like a body, an exhumed body that had probably some sort of ritual over it. Once again, Pluto retrograde in Cancer, right? That you're undoing that ritual. You're unearthing that ritual. So I would not be surprised if these people that unearthed King Tut's tomb got cursed in some way, shape, or form, or had their butts handed to them some way spiritually by King Tut. Once again, it's like you have to treat these things with respect. That's why they were made the way that they were made. So no disrespect could be done to these tombs, these very historic and meaningful tombs to these people. So it's crazy to think that it's possible that maybe was some damage done while unearthing this tomb, because technology was way different then than it is now, and maybe it could be that technology now is maybe a bit more less than is a bit less invasive than it was then. Because when you're hitting the ground and you're making um moves in dirt, and unearthing ground below, you may hit some things and break some things accidentally, God forbid. While trying to unlock the doors to the tombs, you may break something in the tomb, accidentally. Or the fact that you're breaking doors down, or you're breaking this down in the tomb. Once again, it's unearthing energy that has been stored there for thousands and thousands of years. These are people who, once again, ancient people who they had priests and priestesses that did rituals over these bodies, and it was a whole ritual to mummify the body. They used powerful herbs to mummify these bodies, like frankincense and myrrh, I believe. That has very spiritual components to it. So when we have that Uranus retrograde in Pisces, and Pisces is associated with spirituality, retrograde once again, Uranus deals with groups of people. So these people that unearthed this tomb maybe had some secret motives. Alright? They maybe had some secret motives. Pisces deals with secrecy. Pisces deals with life behind closed doors. Pisces deals with trust, boundary setting. Was there boundaries set for these people by Egypt once again? Or were they free to do as they did? Or did they find a loophole? Because Pisces can deal with loopholes. And I'm just concerned because we have that Pluto retrograde in Cancer too. Pluto deals with death. Pluto deals with transformation, evolution, and growth, right? There's a difference between an archaeologist, an excavationist, and a rave grabber. A rave grabber. A grave robber. There's a difference between an archaeologist and an excavationist and a grave robber. And I would just hope that there was a boundary, a clear line between those two things, right? Because once again, Pisces can deal with the lack of boundaries, the lack of a clear line, you know? Just saying. We have the midpoint in Aquarius, which once again is working with groups of people. We have Mars in Aquarius. Aquarius deals with once again working with the groups of people, unexpected change, radical change. This did happen to be a radical change in many ways, right? Um, Mars in Aquarius can be like, unique or unconventional ways of doing things, though. We have Venus in Sagittarius too. Sagittarius deals with once again travel, relocation. This could be a connection between two different locales or two different countries. Once again, um, I want to look up now like Britain and Egypt, the history of Britain and Egypt. Britain and Egypt. Britain and Egypt, King Tut. Let's see what comes up. The only thing I can find is that the relationship between Egypt and Britain changed in the 1950s, which was 30 years after the discovery of King Tut's tomb. All right, anyways, let's do a transit, y'all, and just go days ahead, and I want to see how the planets shift. So on the 11th, all right, we have Sun still in Scorpio. We have Mercury conjunct Scorpio, or Mercury also in Scorpio, conjunct Jupiter in Scorpio. We have North Node still in Virgo, direct now, or was it retrograde before? I don't remember. We have Mercury mid in Virgo, vertex in Virgo, Pluto still retrograde in Cancer. We still have Chiron retrograde in Aries, Lilith in Aries. Lilith in Aries and Chiron in Aries would be opposition Saturn and Libra here. Saturn deals with the past, career, professional destiny, status in society. Chiron deals with wounds that are unhealed. Lilith deals with the underbelly, the shadow side of oneself or society and things of that nature. Um, hmm. Huh. It's interesting that they only do so many excavations in Egypt. I feel like there's something about this excavation that Howard Carter did that it left a bad taste in either King Tut's mouth or Egypt's mouth because this Saturn in Libra would also be in opposition actually to Jupiter in Scorpio, Mercury in Scorpio, and Sun in Scorpio because Scorpio is also ruled by Mars. So this Saturn is a tough placement here. Once again, Saturn deals with the past, career, professional destiny, status in society, fatherhood, energy. Libra deals with one-on-one relationships, business partnerships, harmony, peace, working together. Once again, this could be Howard Carter's excavation group, but this feels more like to me the connection or agreement or establishment, or once again a relationship between Howard Carter, the British, it did say he was British, right? British Egyptologist. That connection between Howard Carter and Egypt. Or Britain in Egypt. Maybe it became Britain in Egypt. Something like that. Like where it was all fun and games until the discovery was found, and then it's like we got to talk business now. You know, like does that make sense? Like that's the energy I'm seeing from this chart. Maybe there was a loose leaf kind of agreement, or maybe there was some written agreement or contract agreement, probably prior to the excavation, in 1922. But then it's like once the discovery was found, once the tomb was found, and things started to be unearthed, it was like, okay, let's change the terms of that agreement now. We got to talk about the agreement and make some new terms and arrangements here. That's what I get. I think there were certain agreements that were made based on this chart I'm seeing. There was probably certain agreements that were made prior to the discovery of the tomb, but once the tomb was discovered, the agreements or the agreement that was made previously probably shifted or changed, or may have been renegotiated. Maybe not for the good, in some way, shape, or form, probably to some degree. All right, because to me, there was something about Egypt and not realizing it was there. It took a British Egyptologist to come to the land and unearth this major discovery that is even still today, once again, 100 years later, a big thing. Very interesting. And we also have to keep in mind that it was just the steps that were discovered on November 4th, 1922. Remember, the article said, let's go back to that article. It says, the next day, on November 5th, Howard Carter's team exposed the whole staircase. And by the end of November, an antechamber, a treasury, and the door to the tomb itself were uncovered. After making a tiny breach in the door, so he did break the door, all right, in some way, shape, or form. So there were things broken, allegedly. Carter saw a room filled with gold treasures on November 26th. But it wasn't much later until the sarcophagus containing Tutankhamun's mummy was revealed. So let's go to November 26th then, because that's probably when the terms changed. And if you think about it, just by seasons in astrology alone, by November 26th, we're in Sagittarius season. So, all right, let's look. We have it set on November 26, 1922. We have Sun in Sagittarius. Sagittarius deals with travel, relocation, culture, open mindedness, religion, personal opinions, beliefs, good luck, optimism. We still have that energy of good luck here, all right? Um, we have Venus in Sagittarius. Venus deals with one on one relationships, once again. All right, so we still have Venus in Sagittarius. It also deals with one-on-one relationships. It can deal with overseas relationships. So this is most likely when the terms changed in the agreement between Howard Carter and maybe Britain, or Howard Carter himself and Egypt. All right, this is probably when things started to change. All right, in terms of the energy, the intentions that were being put towards the discovery of the tomb itself, what was in the tomb. We have Mercury in Scorpio. All right. Still. Um, Jupiter in Scorpio still. We don't have Jupiter, however, conjunct any longer Sun or Venus. All right. But we do have Jupiter in Scorpio. So once again, Scorpio deals with change, evolution, growth, endings. Things have changed now by this point because the tomb is now discovered, and it's been discovered now that there's lots of gold and jewelry and probably very valuable artifacts. All right, at that point. We still have Saturn in Libra. Libra's that one-on-one relationship aspect. But also this is an aspect of ownership too, and we can look at Venus too, as an aspect of ownership, because Venus rules ownership. I own this, you own this, or you own 50%, I own 50%. Who owns what was discovered in that tomb? Is it Howard Carter because he discovered it, or is it Egypt, because it's on Egyptian land? You would think it's because it's on Egyptian land he owns it, but does it become now a shift of, well, I want to own 20% and you own 20%, or like how does that work with the discovery of this tomb and ownership? I mean, obviously Egypt owns it, because it's on their land, but when you have this foreigner coming over, you know, um, to unearth these treasures, maybe not expecting him to actually unearth anything, you know, some negotiations can come into play. All right. Cancer, we have that Pluto retrograde in Cancer. Cancer deals with the home turf, home energy. King Tut's home is in Egypt. So the fact that any of these articles ended up outside of Egypt is a problem for King Tut. All right. And his energy. That's where the curse starts, y'all. Is when his belongings left its home of Egypt, their home of Egypt. Those things in those tombs were meant to be placed in Egypt and Egypt alone. The home and heart of Egypt, that's King Tut. So there definitely most likely, I'm just gonna call it, was a line blurred between excavationing and grave robbing here. All right. I'll say allegedly. All right, but there's definitely something here where, we can see evidence of certain artifacts, being, shipped to other countries, so somehow, some way, and maybe some of these were gifted, we don't know, but the point is that they were meant to be interred in Egypt, and they were meant to be acclimated into the true history of Egypt. All right. Even though the planets aligned in a way at the start where it was meant to be a global thing, it very quickly became, an issue between, well, who now has ownership of these things? They once belonged to this boy king, but 3,000 years plus years later, it's discovered by a British Egyptologist who has seemingly no connection to Egypt, you know um, and it's now in the hands of other people, right? So very very interesting. This was an interesting chart reading. I kind of just want to go and look at how the rest of the planet shift. So eventually we shift into a strong Pisces energy. Uranus goes direct, conjunct Mars in Pisces, which is about secrets. This is towards the end of December that year, 1922, around Christmas Eve of November or of 1922. We have Sun here in Capricorn. Capricorn deals with serious business. So by December, things started to get serious with this excavation. Once again, it feels like it was all fun and games until the tomb was discovered, and then it became okay. Who has ownership of these very valuable belongings, and what do we do with them? You know. So, once again, and I think that may be part of the curse too of this, and that's why the curse was enacted in some way, is it deals with grave robbing. That's the key. You were not supposed to rob these graves. Alright? So for the next tomb that's found, I would not recommend doing that. I would recommend leaving things as intact as they are. It can be very tempting to, take a souvenir, but I would be careful, especially if you don't have Egyptian blood in you, probably, or connection to the pharaohs, because it's all about intention with this grave. They went in with a certain intention. Once they discovered that there were treasures to be found, the intention changed, and that enacted the shift in energy and the curse of Tutankhamun. All right. So I think I might change this title to The Curse of Tutankhamun. All right? Because this is what this is, The Curse of Tutankhamun. All right? But I think eventually and happily, most of the articles, found in the tomb did go to the rightful owners who were Egypt, right? Which is what they were meant for. But along the way, things got, kind of shifted, elsewhere, and I'm wondering, does the curse of Tutankhamun live on in some way? Child. Um. So I feel like there's definitely something about that death mask, especially too, where I don't know. I hope that's in Egypt. Where's Tutankhamun's death mask? Let's look that up. Where is Tutankhamun mask? Oh, it's in the Egyptian Museum. Oh, okay. So it is in Egypt. That's smart. Smart, smart, smart. But I'm seeing they have Egyptian museums in Paris, in the Vatican, in Berlin. It's very interesting how some of these articles ended up in those places. Hopefully, they're not from King Tut's tomb. All right. All right, y'all. This was the astrology of the curse of King Tut, y'all, and the discovery of King Tut's tomb. I hope you all enjoyed this reading. I hope I was able to give you guys some clarity and insight. And once again, if you want your own birth chart reading, I definitely recommend you getting a birth chart reading. I just had a client purchase a birth chart reading. So they purchased a birth chart reading and a 20-minute reading. So it's a lot of money, but I appreciate people who are willing to spend money on good quality products and services. That's me. That's me. I am quality. All right. I'm quality when it comes to my job. As you can see, I take my job very seriously and I get very excited as well when talking about this types of stuff. When we're talking about, Egypt and, astrology, I get very excited, and sometimes I get maybe, I wouldn't say overly excited, but I get passionate. All right. With that being said, thank you for listening and watching. I'm Lamarr Townsend. I'm a psychic, an energy channeler, a tarot reader, and an astrologer. I thank you for watching this video. Definitely keep in touch if you would like your own personal reading. You know where to contact me. Or if you don't, this is where you can go. All right, you can contact me at 703-791-9162. You can also email me at lamar.townsend@gmail.com. Visit my website, lamartownsendtarot.com. If you want a same-day reading, I recommend getting a phone reading. Phone readings are same-day priority, as long as our schedules align. And just check out my website. You can also text me if you're international. I do have WhatsApp as well, so I have WhatsApp for international clients as well. Love and light. God bless. Keep in touch, and I'll see you in the next video. I'll see you in your own personal reading, or talk to you in your own personal reading. Either way, I will see you soon. Love and light. Psychic with a T, the psychic with a T, that's me, that's me. The one with the T, the one with the T, that's me, that's me. When the planets align, spirit speaks on time, that's me, that's me. When the planets align, spirit speaks on time, that's me, that's me. When the trolls be gone, candle work be strong, that's me, that's me. When the trolls be gone, candle work be strong, that's me, that's me. I don't care what the others say, let's channel some energy today. I don't care what the others say, let's channel some energy today. Capricorn, Virgo, Libra strong, this tarot card reading about to be long. Capricorn, Virgo, Libra strong, this tarot card reading about to be long. Psychic with a T, the psychic with a T, that's me, that's me. The one with the T, the one with the T, that's me, that's me. When the planets align, spirit speaks on time, that's me, that's me. When the planets align, spirit speaks on time, that's me, that's me. When the trolls be gone, candle work be strong, that's me, that's me. When the trolls be gone, candle work be strong. That's me. That's me.